revelations per minute. This is my regular speed. So how do you want me to live with it? How do you want me to live with it? Without ringing all alarms, without overthrowing cars, without emptying the bars, without screwing with your charts. 60 revelations per minute. This is my regular need. So how do you want me to live with it? How do you want me to live with it? Without ringing all alarms, without overthrowing cars, without emptying the bars, without screwing with your charts. I'm gathering new generation that's gonna stand up to it. To this karaoke dictatorship, where posers and models with guitars boogie to the shit for beats. I make a better rock revolution alone with my dick. We are ringing all alarms, we are overthrowing cars, we are emptying the bars, we are screwing with your charts.
That's fantastic. Well. Good afternoon. What's up, everybody? It's Drew Lentz, the Wireless Nerd, and I am feeling like I am in a go-go bordello punk rock mood today. It's 6 o'clock. It's April 2nd. Yesterday was April Fool's Day, which was a lot of fun. I'm checking right now. My little stream looks pretty good. I got a lot of stuff going on here. Look, so I've been trying to do small upgrades as we go. So I've got my little Chiron down there, so you can see my name and a little @WirelessNerd. Looks pretty good. Matches my shirt. Figured I would go with red today. But a couple of other things. First off, today's episode is brought to you by NetAlly and the new CyberScope Air. And to learn more about that, I have an awesome interview coming up. After the traditional wave stuff, I'm going to make a jump, and you're going to hear a great interview with Julio and Dan. We're going to talk about the CyberScope Air. We're going to talk about NetAlly and where they are. And this is going to be a new format. So what we'll do is we'll do the what's new, what's now, what's next. We'll take a little break, and then we'll go ahead and we'll jump right into a message or an interview. So been lining up interviews for the last couple of weeks, having a lot of fun doing it. If I've interviewed you, just stay tuned, and I'll be dropping those. And if I haven't interviewed you yet, and this is something that you want to chat on, please feel free to drop me a message, and we'll try and work you in there. But either way, it's a Tuesday, and there's a lot going on. Coming off of the Ubiquity World Conference last week, really, giving me a really good state as to, an idea of what the state of wireless is at a couple of different levels, not just at this big enterprise level, but down, from the bottom up. It's been really fun. So it's allowed me to process a lot of things that are going on this week. We had a great podcast roundtable session with the guys, with Tom and Jesse last week. That was really cool to get to know some new people and get their opinions as to what's going on in the world of wireless, and that's awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and jump into some of this stuff. Look, check this out. By the way, I need some help seeing if the chat works. So I have a little button. Look at this. Let's see if I press this button. Apparently, the chat, where is it? Wrong direction. Over there. The chat is ready to display message. If you send something, I want to see if it pops up. So if you're listening, which there's a handful of you that are, I would appreciate if you just drop in a little message like an LOL or put in a meme or a poop emoji or something like that. And let me see if this populates in here live as we're talking. So I'm going to give it just a few seconds to do that because I want to see if this is actually working, because I think it would be kind of cool if it is. I could see it on the live stream. But, this is one of those, let's test it out and let's do it live. Let's have some fun with it. Lots of stuff to get to today. There's been some interesting developments in the industry, which, as usual, there always are. And that, it's cool. I mean, we've seen a lot of action this week. All right, no one's sending messages. That's cool. Go ahead. Send a message. I'll just leave that thing up, and we'll see if it pops up. And if it does, then I'll take it down. Anyway, first and foremost, the OnGo award winners. So OnGo is part of the CBRS Alliance, and what they do is they nominate and award people from the OnGo Alliance for their use of CBRS technology and some of the things that they're doing. And there were some great additions this year. If you go look at the OnGo Alliance, the people that were awarded in a WISP OnGo deployment. The winner was Pente Networks with Local to You and Bicell. So this is something that we're seeing a lot of right now. Local to You delivers hybrid WISP and MVNO services with CBRS to underserved areas in West Virginia. So these are the 2023 award winners and the finalists. And again, the OnGo Awards program is presented by the OnGo Alliance. It recognizes innovation in delivering real-world OnGo solutions and highlights the market impact of shared spectrum in the 3.5 gig CBRS band. So I think I was awarded, or we were up for a nomination or something with one of these for the work that I did down here in the city of McAllen. I don't remember if we won or not. I think somebody won. I'm sure somebody won. Anyway, but what you're seeing is that the excellence in a WISP OnGo deployment, Pente Networks, and then OnGo in state, local, and education was Blue Arcus. And then in another one in OnGo Innovation, there were more of the people that are providing the services, the orchestration services and the backend services. But what's been interesting is you just see like buy sells across the board. And I've been thinking a lot about this. The Bicells is just really doing a good job making these 3.5 gig base stations, these 430s, man. They're simple. They're easy. The 436s are great pieces of equipment. I've got one the 430 sitting out back here. I've got that connected to the old Freedom Fi stuff. I'm going to be flashing that and getting my Helium network, my Nova Labs network up and running this week. So that should be a lot of fun. But Bicells has really been the go-to for this. Lots of people in the industry making equipment, but Bicells has done a really good job partnering with a lot of companies. So what you see is the orchestration companies that are winning the awards using the Bicells equipment. So Pente Networks using Bicells. Some of the stuff that I just deployed using Aleph, using the Bicells network. Next week when we have the podcast, I've got my little featured segment. It's me using the equipment, using Raman's orchestration and backend services as network as service, using Bicells equipment. So lots of things are happening there. But the one that sticks out to me, and what's interesting on top of that, real quick, is to talk about the hardware. JMA won for the Open RAN deployable frontline operations. JMA, such a cool company. They make some great equipment. I think the difference between JMA and Bicells, just from a very, very basic perspective, is going to be cost. JMA seems to be a little bit more of a I don't want to say better equipment, but a little bit more deeply engineered equipment than the Bicells stuff, and you definitely pay for that. But JMA has got an incredible reputation in the industry, so they won the award for excellence in OnGo innovation for their 5G Open RAN deployable. Now, to get back to the other side, Pente Networks is one, Aleph is another one. So Blue Arcus delivered private 5G and 4G using CBRS for first responders in healthcare and low-income communities in Spokane, Washington. But the other one that I looked at was Druid and Khajiit. And when you couple together the neutral host architecture solution, Infinity was up for it, and JMA was up for it with their multi-service, multi-operator side that they deployed in the Nobu Hotel in Vegas. I've got a huge soft spot in my heart for Joel at Infinity because I know how hard he's worked. Not that the other guys haven't worked as hard, but Joel's done an incredible job with what he's doing with Infinity, and so much so that they won the Judge's Choice Award at OnGo for their neutral host as a service solution. Druid and Khajiit does some of that, and they won the award for the University of Virginia neutral host program that they deployed. And basically, if you think about a mobile network operator, T-Mo, AT&T, Verizon, these guys are acting as not just the orchestration and the configuration of the existing base stations and the Bicells equipment or JMA equipment that they put out there, but then the actual contracts with the carriers. And that to me is the important part, because anyone can make hardware, but man, it's like pulling teeth for people to get these contract negotiations in place between AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. And a lot of it has to do with location. A lot of it has to do with E911, getting emergency services to people where they are, when they are. A lot of that's very difficult. And then making sure that whatever hardware solution they work with is something that will actually work with what the carriers are trying to do by doing that locationing. So really interesting to see there. Khajiit is that neutral host provider, and then Infinity won the award for the Judge's Choice Award. So congratulations to everyone out there. OnGo Device Innovation, CTS SiteNet, job site wireless internet services using private cellular and Wi-Fi to improve productivity. They were one of the other winners that were in there. For a full list, go to ongoawards.org. So congrats to everyone for winning the awards on the OnGo Alliance. I'm a huge fan of what CBRS does, and so it's always great to see OnGo getting out there and recognizing the people that did it. Now, how much of that's paid for? I don't know. Elephant in the room is that in order to participate, you usually have to pay some type of fee to be a part or to be recognized, like an administrative cost for the award. So I don't know what the OnGo one looks like for that, but feel free to drop something in the comments if you know either what it is or what it isn't. I'm always curious. That the pay-to-play model is something that I'm not a fan of too much, just because it's like, dude, you don't want to buy the award. I would rather people get awarded for the hard work that they do. Not saying that OnGo doesn't do that, just saying that traditionally you see a lot of that in our beautiful tech industry. Moving on, in the what's new and what's now. Right now, that's what's now. That's what's going on. OnGo's, the award winners from there, but also Assa Abloy just acquired Nomadix, and I thought that was really interesting because Assa Abloy is traditionally a lock company, right? So having them move into network selection and network services seems kind of like a weird jump, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense, because if you think about how many hotels are using these devices and what they're going to need in order to access those devices, this seems like a step in a good step in the infrastructure direction. But they didn't just acquire Nomadix; they acquired Global Reach, which was the parent company of Nomadix. And if you go back to when Nomadix sold to NTT and all the other stuff, back and forth there, Global Reach in the U.S. and the U.K. was this group that not only did guest services, but they actually did MDUs. They did deployments for hospitality and for multiple dwelling units. So to see that they acquired, that Assa Abloy not just got into the space of acquiring the hardware vendor Nomadix, but also into the services space by moving forward with all of Global Reach in the US and the UK, that means that Assa Abloy is now in the deployment business. I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like. And so in the article in hotelmanagement.net, a great, get a lot of good information there. They said that it was latest in security access, user authentication. That's why they acquired them. It includes satellite authentication, digital engagement. It will expand our core business capabilities and expertise, as well as continue to provide our customers with enhanced value when delivering on demands for custom tailored solutions. Now, does that mean that they're getting into into the deployment model? Adding the capabilities of Nomadix and Global Reach to our existing solutions portfolio represents our continued effort to serve as a comprehensive provider of advanced technology, says Lee Wang, SVP and head of hospitality. We look forward to leveraging their expertise to serve customers seeking out solutions capable of delivering blah, 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 blah. Are they getting into the deployment? I wonder if they will. They're going to operate as two separate entities under a central top management, but does this mean that they're going to start getting into the deployment? I think I've asked that like 4 times. So that's what I'm curious about. And if they do, okay, that's interesting. It wouldn't be the first hardware manufacturer to get into the deployment business, but other questions arise. Like, are they going to keep the Wi-Fi product line? Nomadix just launched a Wi-Fi product line. And one of the cool things that they had, I was talking about this the other day, is that little sensor that they set out that you can wear around, that the housekeepers wear around their neck, not only to act as an alert call button, but to check the signal strength of what's going on the wireless network. And I don't remember the name of it, so if you just bear with me while I bang on my keyboard for a second, I'm going to look it up, because I remember meeting with the gentleman at High Tech that developed the technology and then sold it to Nomadix. But are they going to keep it? Are they going to trash it? Are they going to move into all of this? I don't know. Let me see here. I don't want to mess it up and say it's something else. Well, I go click on my little LinkedIn and click on people and show up on someone's search results. Don't you love that? That's one of my favorite things about LinkedIn, is you can see who's looking at your deal. Benoit, there he is, Benoit Legal. He had a company that he sold to Nomadix, and it was called OmniBuddy. OmniBuddy, he's still there, product and business development. So Benoit, if you're listening, fantastic. But OmniBuddy, if you look it up, was the little thing that housekeepers would wear, and it allowed them to not only have an alert button if something was going on with them, but then it would measure the signal strength, the RSSI, the SNR, the throughput, all this stuff. It would run these tests from the housekeeper's necklace. And that was pretty cool, because we get in this conversation about how do you make a sensor that feeds data back into the system to let you know how well your network's working without in a way that you can control that environment. And the problem with putting it on someone's phone or putting it on a device that they carry is it gets shoved into a cart or in somebody's pocket. And what was interesting, having a conversation recently about that, it's like, well, if that's going to be the worst case scenario, if it's going to be in someone's pocket and you still have to deliver high-speed services, like updates and email and whatever while it's in somebody's pocket, then it's okay, because you want to see the worst case scenario, and then you can really judge your network based on how bad it's working. So that was one perspective. My perspective was, well, that's great, but I wanted a bit more of a realistic view, and I think wearing that thing around your neck might give that to you. So that all gets wrapped up into, are they going to keep it? What is Assa Abloy going to keep, and what are they going to get rid of? I don't think there's going to be anybody's names. Jeremy, you're always on my LinkedIn, give me high fives. So maybe you can shed some light. If you guys don't know Jeremy, that means that you've never used Nomadix products. And if you have used Nomadix products, then you absolutely know Jeremy, because he is an incredible resource there at Nomadix. So now, moving on to what's going on right now, Starlink's FCC request for more spectrum denied. They tried to go up and say, hey, we'd love some of that spectrum that Globalstar's been using, and it's exclusive to Globalstar and Dish. They were trying to use the regions of spectrum in the 1.6 and 2.4 gigahertz bands, and 2 gigs that include those bands exclusive to Globalstar and Dish. And the FCC said that those bands are unequipped to handle large LEO constellation transmissions. LEO, low Earth orbiting. That's what that stands for. The original application for bands was filed over a year ago by SpaceX, but they're still working with T-Mobile to try and use their 1.9 gigahertz band to do some of that. So T-Mobile's got that spectrum. And if you follow that back, that's that whole T-Mobile cell phone that can talk to the internet, can talk to space, right? Using, talk to the internet via space using the Starlink network on a T-Mobile device. And they were able to get some pretty good throughputs there. They did a test of it a while back. And I want to see, I don't remember exactly what the numbers were, but they had this really cool thing. 17 megabit per second is what they were able to hit talking to space. So definitely no shortage there of connectivity. It can probably only go up from there, but their struggle to figure out where they get that spectrum continues to go. So that's what's going on right now. Also, if you are in the UK, I believe, or is it, let's see, where is this? Is free mobile charging and Wi-Fi coming to a street near you? BT reveals plans to convert thousands of old phone boxes all across the UK. So if you think about the New York City program, the NYC, I think it was called the Link, the New York City program to provide free Wi-Fi access, where they used to have those, traditional payphones. Then it will allow, they retrofitted them and put some Wi-Fi in there, put some connectivity in there, and now they're adding wireless charging in there. Almost 1,000 Street Hub 2 units are already dotted across the country, and the number of phone boxes peaked in the 90s around 100,000. So there's 20,000 payphones are still active today, but now 2,000 are set to receive that revamp. So all across the UK, kind of cool. And some of them will be able to provide 4G and 5G connectivity as well. So it's great to see some of these things moving out and people repurposing ways to get connectivity out into their communities. Speaking of that, the ACP stuff, that's it. April 2nd, here we go. ACP's done in the U.S. Now people are going to be scrambling, looking for ways to connect their communities to the internet. You know me, I just went on a rant about this and about how I don't think you should have to wait for fiber. You should really focus on finding connectivity solutions that solve the problem and give you a path moving forward. So you know me, all. I'm wireless first, and I think that a comprehensive strategy is better than just one single leg to stand on, just saying fiber, fiber, fiber. Why not build mobile and then build out fiber to supply access to that mobile, and then everyone can be happy. But a lot of things are going to be coming down the road, especially it's good to see that those OnGo Awards are supporting what's happening in 3.5 gig and with CBRS, because that private LTE and that private 5G service, leveraging those bands, is definitely going to be needed as we move into an era where ACP is gone and where people are looking for cost-effective connectivity in their neighborhoods, in my opinion. Speaking of neighborhoods, a massive facial recognition program was just rolled out in the Gaza Strip. This was interesting to read. Not getting political. Please do not take this as political. This is tech, right? CoreSight, a Tel Aviv-based company, built the tools to identify specific members of Hamas, and their officers are saying that's often inaccurate. But that's not the point. The point is that they've now deployed some of this, and basically the program, which was crafted after October 7th, uses technology from Google Photos as well as custom-built tools by the Tel Aviv-based company CoreSight to identify people affiliated with Hamas. So if you think about the larger larger ramifications of this. You set up a whole camera network, and you look through your Google Photos, and you find person of interest that you want to look at, and you're able to load that in. And it does that facial recognition that goes out and seeks and finds where they are and when they are. Kind of interesting, but at a scale like this, it's kind of interesting to see for that entire area. So we'll see what happens as things like this progress, but it's, a step in that direction of the facial recognition and using AI from cameras as sensors, not cameras as cameras, but cameras as sensors to determine where people are going. I thought that was interesting, especially when you think about how many of those are going to have to be deployed over a wireless network. You're not going to be running fiber to all these. You're not going to be running copper to all these. You're going to want to put something up quick and easy that's got a solar power and a camera, feeds back via 4G or 5G, and it can do a lot of that compute on the edge and then just in the results of what it's getting on the back end. So definitely an application for wireless, and that could be one of those secure private LTE or private 5G deployments that are out there. So fun to think about. All right, what else we got? That's what's new. That's what's now. Engineers solved the mystery of unstable Wi-Fi connects only when it's raining. This was an interesting article from gigazine.net, Gigazine, gigazine.net. They ran this article, and I thought it was funny to read. It said, engineers solved the mystery of an unstable Wi-Fi connection where it only connects when it's raining. And so if you go and you read the article, it talks about the rain filling up a small tree that's in an area, and as soon as the rain goes away and the tree dries, the Wi-Fi connection works just well. But they didn't think it was causing a problem because it wasn't in direct line of sight, or at least they didn't think it was in direct line of sight. And so when they swapped out from 802.11g to 802.11n, now all of a sudden it became less problematic. So if you're at gigazine.net, I had never been to this website before, but I see the Wi-Fi World Congress banner advertisement on top of it. So I've never been to Gigazine, but I thought that was fun. A fun little read. It's one of those things where you get so invested in your career and everything that you do that you think you have all the answers, right? And I got into that mode like at 4 o'clock in the morning. I jumped on Reddit and I started answering questions in the Wi-Fi subreddit just for fun. Go do that. Like, have some fun. Why not, man? I mean, what else are you doing at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning? But it was interesting to go through that and just go find people there asking some pretty basic questions and give them some very basic answers. Anyway, okay, so what else we got? The last thing I wanted to touch on was 301 terabytes per second over fiber. In partnership with the National Institute of Information and Communications Technology in Japan and Nokia Bell Labs in the U.S., Aston researchers were able to transfer data at 301 million megabits per second using standard optical fiber. Now, this is interesting because the thing here isn't that they were able to transmit a whole bunch of data. It was that they were able to transmit a whole bunch of data over existing fiber. To me, that was pretty cool. Now, the way that they did it, that's the big question, right? Alongside the commercially available C and L bands, they used additional spectral bands called the E band and the S band. Now, those bands traditionally haven't been required because the C and L bands were perfectly capable of providing all of the capacity that consumers need. Well, now that they opened these up, it was pretty interesting. It's remarkable. It does not require new infrastructure to drastically improve internet speeds and could allow significantly faster internet speeds through existing fibers, and they did it by transmitting different colored light. Frequencies. That's all this is, just multiple frequencies. And so they found these other frequencies that they pushed across. They hit 301 TB per second. What? 301 terabits per second. That's pretty awesome, man. So congratulations to the team that's doing that. Now, it wouldn't be a fun show unless I start talking about what's going on next in the world of events. And I think that there's a couple coming up right now. Let me see here. What month are we in? We're in April. I saw the wireless community. Peter McKinsey was advertising, talking about the wireless community. I think it's going to be in the Netherlands. I'm not 100% sure, but if you go look up WICO, W-I-C-O, you can see what's going on with the wireless community program. It's really cool. It's just like a meet and greet for wireless nerds. And let me jump on Peter Mac's deal here. Let's see. It's the wireless community gathering, the Herds Manchester, gathering the Herds, Manchester, UK, 11th and 12th July 2024. Tickets are on sale now. And let's see what we got. I'm going to click on the link live here. Locations at the Stoller Hall. About this event, there's going to be a bunch of nerds there. Doesn't show everyone who's going to be there, but it definitely should be a lot of fun. So Thursday, July 11th, 2024, 9 to Friday 11 or 12 July 2024, 1700 hours. Please join us for Wireless Community event in Manchester, UK. Oh, I was wrong. Not Netherlands, Manchester. The event promises to be fun and informative where you can learn from some of the brightest minds in our industry, like Peter McKinsey. The agenda is put together in such a way to leave plenty of room for informal chat and networking. They're going to be using the hashtag WICO, W-I-C-O. So just look for the hashtag WICO and see what's going on with this event. They have some other events that are coming up. They've done a few in the past, and this is a really cool program. It's one of those built from the community, for the community, by the community, et cetera, et cetera. So look up Mr. Peter McKinsey if you're interested, and make sure you can see if you can make it out for that thing. That's coming up. The Wi-Fi Now World Congress USA 2024 is coming up April 22nd through 24th in Sarasota, Florida, bringing together the world's Wi-Fi industry leaders for 3 days in the magical Gulf Coast city of Sarasota, which is just south of Tampa. So you're going to want to fly into Tampa, I think. They're going to be talking about 6 gig. They're going to be talking about home and enterprise. They're going to be talking about different innovations and devices. And if you've never been to one of Klaus's shows, it's a really good show. It's you find a lot of people that you do some great networking with there, and it's just a good group of people. This year, Erica McLaughlin from Vice President of Wireless Solutions from Intel, Elizabeth Parks from Parks and Associates, Robert Gross from Worldview, the mayor of Sarasota, Miss Liz Alper will be there. The ex-commissioner from the FCC, Ajit Pai, will be there. He's now a Searchlight Capital. Tony Leibel, Matt Swartz from Cisco. If you guys know Matt, he's the king of building wireless for stadiums. He's so good at that. Dorothy Stanley, standards architect from Aruba. Bart Giordano. Tons of people. Nick Butler, Dan Myers, Mr. Dean Bubley will be there. Who else, man? God, this goes on. And Fernay Munoz, I know that guy. He's a pretty cool guy. Howard Buzik from American Bandwidth. Todd Myers from GoZone. Ubility, Wi-Fi Now. There's trainers. All kinds of great people are going to be there. So go look at wifinowglobal.com and look at what they've got going on in Sarasota. It's a great networking opportunity. Fun people will be there. It's going to be a couple days. Should be a lot of good times. I have a pass to go out there. I also have a promo code for people that are interested in attending. If you'd like to attend for 50% off, let me open up my Gmail and find that promo code for you real quick. Klaus was kind enough to send one over to me. And he put out a deal when the layoffs first hit at Cisco. He put out a deal in inviting anyone that was affected to reach out to him, and he would give them a pass to the show. And so I think a couple of people took advantage of that. And now my promo code, let me see if I can find it here. I think it's something super simple, but let me just put it out here. I think there's only a handful of them. So if you want one, my promo code for 50% off of tickets at Wi-Fi Now Global Congress is WWC Sarasota Drew 50. So WWC SARASOTADREW 50. Again, WWC SARASOTADREW 50. I've got 5 passes that he's let me go for 50% off these tickets. So WWC Sarasota Drew 50. Go ahead and use that code. There's a link you can click on, or once you add it to your shopping cart, just plug that code in. If you have any problems, let me know. I would appreciate you guys doing that. Let Klaus know that you support the podcast. So if you're going to register for it, just make sure you use my fancy promo code. I'm not going to publish it anywhere. Let's just see how this works. I'm just going to put it on here on the podcast. And if someone you know is going to Wi-Fi Now World Congress, let them know that they can save 50% by using my magical code. So that being said, we're going to be out there. Let's see if there's anything in the chat. Did anyone give me any chat messages? No chat messages. That's okay. That's all right. I'm going to jump on LinkedIn real quick and see if there's any messages, because sometimes people like to jump on LinkedIn and just leave comments in there. But I did this at 6 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, so I'm not sure that there's anybody there. All right. Well, as I mentioned, this episode is brought to you by NetAlly and the new CyberScope Air. It's a new device that they let a lot of people play with at WLPC, and then the people that got to use it in the training class actually walked away with one. So I'm going to jump over to my interview with Julio and with Dan. I'm going to see if this thing plays. I've got a cool little button here that I can press. And hey, there we go. See, look there. I got a hello, Drew. I'm going to put the chat back on. Let's see. Did it work? Oh, I don't know why it shows up on one and not the other. I don't know. Maybe it had to be before. But Mark, I appreciate you giving me a hello, Drew. That's great to see. I've got 30 people on X right now, a handful of people on YouTube right now, a couple, 2-3 people on LinkedIn. Hopefully I would have gotten chat. But All right. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and drop this interview and let you all know that to have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all next week. Hey everybody, it's Drew Lentz, the Wireless Nerd, and today I am joined with two amazing people, Dan and Julio from NetAlly, supporters of the Waves podcast since day one. And I wanted to just jump in and have a great conversation about the new CyberScope Air, about what we learned at WLPC, and about what's going on with NetAlly. So I will let you all introduce yourselves and say hi to everyone out here in beautiful Wireless Nerd land.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll go first. I'm Dan Klimke. I'm the Director of Product Marketing at NetAlly. And yeah, WLPC was an amazing event. We had a lot of fun and great to catch up with a lot of folks. And, it was a particularly touching event to see Keith on the big party night with his family and all that. That was just awesome.
And my name is Julio Petrovich, Product Manager at NetAlly. As Dan said, and as you said, Drew, WLPC was great. It was the first time this year that we hosted a deep dive for one of our products. We got some pretty good feedback, and a lot of people got a nice gift.
Yeah, no kidding, man. You guys went all out. It wasn't just the deep dive that you hosted. I saw a bunch of people walking away with these little black boxes and genuinely jealous. Tell me about that. So what inspired that? I know, the deep dive was great and I saw everyone walking around doing wayfinding. What inspired you all to do this, and what did you learn from the class itself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the impetus really came just because of the coincidence of the timing of the WLPC event and our public announcement for CyberScope Air, which officially was on Tuesday, the 5th of March. But we figured, hey, why, since we have all these people here who are concerned about Wi-Fi performance and security, why not create this special event, add in the deep dive, and to create a little extra buzz and fun and get some power into the hands of these top end users of Wi-Fi analysis gear. We made the decision, hey, let's just go all out. Let's just make this deep dive a blast and make sure everybody gets a great experience with the product and take it home and use it around.
That's the one thing. A couple years ago, 2 years ago now in Prague, we put out a new Wi-Fi technology and we tested it on the crowd. And I think you all were there. And I said, y'all are this is the best crowd literally to test anything in front of, because you are not going to be nice, but you're going to be nice. You're gonna tell us exactly what needs to happen, and you're going to back that up with a skill set. So tell me a little bit about the CyberScope Air. What makes it different? Because I've got, you guys have always kept me up to date with your tools. I have every tool that I can possibly imagine from NetAlly, and I love all of them. But now I've got the CyberScope. It's in my truck. That's why it's not in my hand. I was using it this afternoon. But what makes the CyberScope Air different than the CyberScope that's already out there on the market?
Julio, you want to take that?
I sure can. So you can think of the CyberScope Air as a wireless-only version of the CyberScope that was released last year.
Okay.
It's like a superset of the very popular and very well-known AirCheck G3.
Love it. Great tool.
People watching this podcast or the WLPC knows it's been around for a few years, between the first generation, second, and now third. And it improves upon the functionality of the AirCheck G3 by adding all the new cybersecurity part to it.
Okay.
So it has everything the AirCheck can do, plus more.
Like what? I mean, give me some example, because I didn't get to play with it, man. I was doing the flipper deep dive. It's one of those where it's like, had I just known. Actually, we knew, but I wanted to play with the flipper thing before it got out, banned by everybody other than just Canada. So like what? I mean, give me some examples. This is you gotta remember, some of the people that are listening to the podcast are people that you know and love, and were probably sitting in your class, and a lot of them were at WLPC. But there's also a lot of people out there that are coming across this for the first time. What is it about a CyberScope Air, and what specific tools from a security perspective make this something that everyone needs to get their hands on?
Yeah, so there's two big ones. The first one, and this is the one we introduced early on with the original CyberScope, is the integration of the Nmap app into all our tools or multiple tools like a discovery tool or the auto test. And this basically allows you to configure automated vulnerability scans throughout the
Okay.
network. Okay. So for example, you could configure it to check for open ports on every device on the network while you're doing a discovery. Or you could just manually run, let's say, a brute force attack against a specific device in the network to see if there's any vulnerabilities.
Okay, and that's from a wireless perspective now, not just the wired side. Also running these across the wireless perspective. Okay, what
That's
else?
correct. And then the second thing, and then we added this a little more recently, is now what we call discovery monitoring. So basically,
What does that mean?
You can leave, let's say, a CyberScope or a CyberScope Air on a specific area, scanning, and you can configure it to basically do a discovery test every so often and upload that to Link Live.
Oh,
so
nice.
It's basically like on a monitoring mode. So instead of you going there and running a test, it will automatically run it. And then using the new dashboard on Link Live, which was released like a week or two ago, now I think about it. So this came out after the deep dive at WLPC. Now you have this dashboard that will show you different types of trends on the wireless side, but also on the discovery or security side.
That's awesome. And
one of the things that we found, just sorry to jump in, is kind of one of the reasons why NetAlly got into this world of cybersecurity in the first place. For years, even back in our past instantiations under NetScout and Fluke Networks, people have been using our tools not only for network analysis, network troubleshooting, or validation, but really around that discovery technology that we pioneered, almost 30 years ago. A lot of our customers were utilizing that in order to understand who's on my network and where are they connected.
Yeah.
Because knowing that, having an inventory of what's on my network and where the interconnection paths is actually a very critical thing to know for cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the frameworks talk about how critical it is to have up to the minute accurate topology maps.
Well, it's not only that, it's, and this is why I wanted to get into a little bit on that as well. There's been all these interesting new attacks that are coming out, different vulnerabilities here and there. And the one that is of special interest to me, just because I find it so fascinating, is identifying devices that are on your network that you traditionally wouldn't look at, where it's, it says it's a printer, but it's not really a printer. It's an Iranian hacker. You know what I mean? Like, how understanding not just the what's on your network and the topology of your network, but identifying the signatures of those. Does it work towards any of that? Is that something that you can see using the CyberScope Air?
Sure. To the extent that there's a series of Nmap switches that would give you that information about that device, it's in CyberScope. We've loaded over 600 of the standard Nmap scans into the product, so it's out of the gate ready to go. So most of those Nmap scans are available to just be used out of the box. But you can also customize them. In fact, when a new vulnerability comes out, very often, within minutes, someone has already gone through and figured out what the Nmap configuration is for the switches to be able to identify a vulnerability. Like not long ago, that Terrapin, I think there's a SQL vulnerability. Well, you just look up online, Terrapin Nmap, and there's the string. I'll just load that into the product, and now I've got a day zero scan for the most recent vulnerability. So it's quite easy to do and easy to execute.
That's awesome. So then as far as the device itself, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7, what are you looking at from a technology and ability to scan? I know that on the AirCheck and then on the CyberScope, there is that USB port that's on there as well. So talk about that a little bit. I mean, is that from an extensibility perspective or growth perspective? I know it probably has an onboard Wi-Fi chipset, but what else? What are some of the features there that are going to allow this to be a tool in my tool bag for the next, not just the next 3 weeks, but also for the next 2 years?
Yeah, sure. So basically, as you mentioned, one of the cool things about not only the CyberScope Air, but also CyberScope, Etherscope, AirCheck, is that you can expand its functionality by using USB ports.
Mm-hmm.
So you may remember the olden days where it was more like a module that you put in and out of some of those bigger tools.
I remember.
Now it's all basically USB based. And you can install anything from a USB camera. You could install or use a USB to Ethernet adapter. So for example, on the CyberScope Air, if you wanted an Ethernet port, hey, just plug one in. You could also install, or using the Bluetooth radio in the unit, you could connect a Bluetooth keyboard, or you could connect a printer. Mostly if you're, let's say, labeling cables with a normal CyberScope or Etherscope or Link 10 gig. You could also plug in a USB to serial cable if you wanted to connect to, let's say, a switch or something like that.
Why not?
So, and then use all the third-party apps that are available that you can download. And basically, there's a lot of stuff that you can do there.
That's awesome. And you guys have always been strong supporters of the industry and of everything that people are doing. And it's all, you're at every show and you're out there, making the latest and greatest tools. How's the adoption of this been? I mean, I know everyone was going bananas over it. It's great, not
bananas?
just because.
Did I hear bananas?
Bananas? It was fantastic. It was so much fun to see you all there enjoying it. Now, what's next on the menu for you all? I mean, if you look at, we've got, I'm trying to think of the shows that are coming up. Cisco Live, obviously, coming up in June. And that's a big deal for everyone. But there's lots of little shows. Have you seen any interest and growth in wireless security? I mean, especially now when you look at CyberScope Air versus the traditional tools. Traditional tools were great at understanding what's going on the network, and they were great for nerds like me and nerds like you all who are out there doing the day-to-day stuff. But now, as we enter into more people using more wireless networks, have you seen any interest from other groups that this is a tool that they can go, this is awesome. I don't have to learn all of the stuff that all the old people use. Now I can come in. I've got a handheld tool that allows me to quickly and easily check my network for vulnerabilities and things like that. I'm always curious. Have you seen anything that's coming new on the horizon? New people, new users?
Well, I guess the best answer to that is that we do see a bit of a segmentation between people who are more network focused or network operations focused versus security operations.
Okay.
And the response that I'm hearing is, hey, if we're in security operations or I'm a security practitioner, my area of concern spans the entire network.
Yeah.
I need to have both wired and Wi-Fi visibility.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I need to go anywhere and everywhere and test every kind of connection. Whereas people who are responsible for the performance, connectivity, and security of the Wi-Fi network, the subset product of the CyberScope Air is a perfect fit. Because if you're responsible for a Wi-Fi network, of course you're concerned about edge network security. So we're seeing, I think, a broader adoption of CyberScope Air versus the CyberScope because anybody and everybody who cares about Wi-Fi cares about security. And why wouldn't you want the tool that has that added functionality?
Yeah, yeah. And so then, I spent the morning on a rooftop setting up a private LTE network. So, this is great when it comes to the Wi-Fi side of it, but what about, using that dongle or using the ability for it to grow into other things, working with more IoT? I mean, we heard some great talks this year about LoRaWAN, about Halo, about, all these different devices, UWB and everything else that's out there, 4G and 5G moving into that. What about using this tool with that communications medium just changing from Wi-Fi to 4G or 5G? Have you seen any of that, or is that something you're looking forward to?
We have been looking into that. We've actually been working with some of the lab teams at some of the. Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Turn my phone off. We have been working with some of the lab teams at some of the large U.S. carriers. Who are looking for that capability. It's not something that we've got right now, but it's definitely something that we're looking for our roadmap.
Awesome. Well, what else? This is, and I appreciate you guys taking the time just to chat. This is exactly what I wanted, and I think anyone who listens to the podcast knows it's just like laid back, man, and just give me some basic fun details.
Just talking.
Yeah, man.
One thing I guess I can add, you asked, hey, what events will be at anytime soon?
Yeah, what you got coming up?
So coming up soon, we got the RSA.
Oh, well, yeah. Especially now with the CyberScope. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be there. Then a little farther out in the June time frame, sorry, you
Yeah.
mentioned Cisco Live.
Yep.
And besides that, regretfully, same week, we'll also, or maybe depends on the time, I guess, who you ask. We'll also be at WLPC in Valencia, Spain.
Oh, listen, that's the one that I told my wife last night. I said, "Vamos a España." I was like, "Let's go, man! I want to." Just the fact that it's in Spain alone, so that's fantastic to hear. What about there's another show. There's a show called Infocom that I'm looking at going to right now in Vegas. It's all about AV and stuff, and as the world of wireless grows, right, and everything that we do day to day, it just becomes more used by everyone, and people just have that expectation that it's going to work, and they don't know how, and they don't care how. They just need it to work. I look at different adjacent marketplaces and technology. That's why I go to CES every year, just to go find out what are other people thinking. I really see what you all have done is a great thing in the industry, not just because you're my pals and I like the tools, but because you're putting something in the hands of people that traditionally wouldn't think, oh, I need to go out and buy a NetAlly tester, but their mind immediately goes to, oh, that's checking cables and checking connections and whatever. I think that this is a really cool bridge device that allows you to go to some of these groups, some of these adjacent technology areas, and say, hey, this is how this can help you, and that's going to open up opportunity to say, oh, I didn't understand the wireless network as much as I could have, and that's where these vulnerabilities are. So kudos to you all for doing this. I think it's a great product, and I love the black. I think it's so starkly different than the green. It's like cool.
It's not just black; it's cyber black.
I love it. Well, that is fantastic. Well, I don't have.
As far as the shows and events, I think one of the things is that it's a kind of an embarrassment of riches. It's like the hard part is choosing where we're going to go.
Yeah,
there's certainly lots and lots of opportunities out there because, as you said, Wi-Fi is so ubiquitous for everything, everywhere connectivity, right? So it's a utility, and that is popping up in every area.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you have a utility checker. I mean, it's so interesting to look at it from that perspective and to think, in my mind, to think about it, because it's like I feel like we're getting to the point where it is being accepted as a utility. And so that means the people that are working on it have to have those same type of tools that a utility person would have. You've got a voltometer for the electricians, and you've got, the water testing and, pipe testing and pressure testing equipment for those guys. And for us, we've always had all these highly intricate tools to measure and monitor every tiny little thing. But I think that as the technology grows more complex, ML, oh my God, I don't want to talk about MLO, right? My mind can't get around troubleshooting MLO. I'm stuck there, But when you start talking about having this is that introduction of AI doing a lot of the troubleshooting for you, then you need to look at the big picture, and you need to have the analysis that's done. Something as simple as a device that fits in your hand could be super helpful. So.
And the basics. I mean,
yes.
Let's get down to the basics. Like one of our old technologists used to say, always suspect the physical layer first.
That's right. Always. It's so funny because I remember when the G2 was out, and and all of us were like, oh, this is great, how cool is this? And one of the most used features on the air check is the Ethernet port. it's like, see, I told you this is what's wrong. It's one of the coolest, most simple features, but I love it, man. I love it. Well, great. Well, what else? Any sneak previews? Anything? I mean, this is pretty brand spanking new. Tell me real quick before we go. Tell me about you mentioned the new portal, Julio. What's going on? Has Link Live changed? What's going on with that? Is it just a different aesthetic, or I mean, what's happening behind the scenes on Link Live that you guys went through this refresh with?
Yeah, great question. So as I mentioned, 2 weeks ago, we released version 8.0 of Link Live. Basically, it's a major revamp of the analysis section.
Okay.
So in the past, it was more like tables. You could also access the topology map, but you have to do the analysis a little more manually. You have to go through all the numbers, look at the tables, add the information in there. And now what we did is that we made it more graphical. We added a dashboard that basically shows you graphically what's going on, what's out there. Are there new devices? Are there devices that are not there anymore? Any issues? So basically, it makes it a lot easier. So you at a glance, instead of having to go through a lot of numbers or filtering and so on, you can just look at the graphs or charts and, hey, identify any problems. And it was a major endeavor for our team because it was a big revamp of the user interface to make it more graphical when compared to what it used to be. That being said, we also have if you wanted like a hint of what's coming up next.
Oh, here we go.
Version 8.1, which includes more updates also to the analysis section, and in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
So yes, something for you and the crowd here.
I love it. I love it.
Do you know what's coming up soon?
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. So for more information, I mean, people can buy NetAlly tools just about everywhere. You can buy any fine quality tools. Shameless plug for WiFiStand.com. Of course, you can buy them there. Is there any demo available, like when you get online to see what's behind the scenes on Link Live? You know, if someone visits the NetAlly website, is there information that they can get there? Or what is the best way to get in touch with you all? Give me your contacts real quick for anyone that's listening wants to get in touch with Julio or Dan.
Yeah, I mean, really, just go into the website, filling out the contact form. We'll get in touch with folks. We can do live demos over the web remotely. That works great. We have some kind of canned demos on the website that people kind of walk through some of the basics of the tools.
Okay.
But yeah, if anybody wants to, we're happy to hop on a call and show them what's what.
Awesome. Yeah. And if not, then we'll see you at the shows. Well, anyway, guys, this has been fantastic. Just like I said, quick 20 minutes for anyone who listens to Waves. You know, I like to keep it short and sweet. And Julio and Dan, y'all, I really appreciate y'all jumping on. I've got your little logo up on here, and I'm going to cut this and get it over and out. And, if you want to jump back on anytime, please feel free to reach out. You know, I love talking to you guys, and I appreciate your time and everyone that's listening. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Enjoy your time. And don't forget, if you need some of these tools, visit wifistand.com or visit NetAlly.com. You can find all this fantastic information out there. Get those demos, get those walkthroughs. Thanks for listening to Waves. We'll see you on next week's episode. Fantastic. From HQ.